So we're going to start in a saute pan, turn up the heat here, with a little bit of olive oil. So a couple tablespoons of olive oil in a saute pan. And for this, we want to start with what the Italians call gli odori, or the flavorings for the foundations for what you're going to make. So here are some onions already chopped up. They go in. We're going to let those sizzle for a few minutes. Get those soft. This is one of the 4 evangelists of Italian cooking. And then we want some celery. So here we have 2 ribs of celery. You just want to chop this up. This is also going to help us give nice flavor. Just coarsely chop that up and add it with the onions. Celery is one thing that I really find hard to grow in my garden. And we're going to give that a little stir. Move that around. And let's give this just a pinch of salt. We need to flavor as we go. And a pinch of pepper. Really let that get soft. And while that's getting soft, let's cut up some zucchini. Easy to grow if you have a garden. We're just going to chunk this up. We're going to make this a chunky stew. This is a great dish for anybody who is a vegetarian. It's a great main dish if you're a vegetarian, or if you're not a vegetarian, it makes a great side dish. So just chunk those up, take off the ends, and we'll just set that aside for now. And then we want some garlic, which is right here, already minced. Fresh garlic goes in now. You don't want to put that in with the onions because you want those onions to wilt down first. If you put the garlic in with the onions and the celery, you might burn the garlic. So always put it in at the end. So there's the garlic. And then we want, yes, some hot red pepper flakes. You notice I'm using a lot of that this year? I like hot red pepper flakes. So that goes in. And we're going to let that just simmer away. And I'll talk to you about eggplant. Look how beautiful those are. So we have a medley of vegetables here today. So we have fresh eggplant. We're going to take those tops off. Now, if there are no seeds, as you can see with these eggplant, they're young, you do not have to do that salting, where you layer the eggplant in a colander, you put a layer of salt on, and then you let them sit there, and then you rinse them. If there are no seeds, you don't have any bitterness. So you can eliminate that step. So what is the secret? The secret is to always buy small eggplant, not large ones that have too many seeds in them. And we're just going to cut those up. You can see this is going to be quite a stew. This is going to be enough to serve, well, I would say 6 to 8 people. So now we have eggplant. Let me get a bowl for this. So there is our eggplant, the melanzane. And we want some tomatoes with this as well. But we'll put the eggplant in first. The whole point of this is to add the vegetables that take the most time to cook. Add them first. And then add the vegetables that take the least amount of time to cook. So we're going to put the eggplant in because that's going to take a few minutes to just cook down, and it's going to exude a lot of water because eggplant is mostly water. And you notice we left the skin on. That's because that's where all the vitamins are. So there is our eggplant. We can now add it to the pot. So easy to do this recipe. Stir this around. I'm going to turn this down now because I don't want everything to burn on me. And mix the eggplant in your 4 evangelist flavoring. Put the top on. We're going to give this a little bit of water, which is right here. I don't want that to stick, so I'm going to give that a little bit of water. If you didn't want to use water, you could use wine. That would be good too. And then we want tomatoes. So here we want some plum tomatoes. You don't have a garden, you're going to the store, you're going to your farmer's market. Farmer's markets right now are very big. And of course, if you're eating this casserole or the leek casserole that I just put in the oven, you are eating according to the Mediterranean diet. Because if you know anything about the Mediterranean diet, you know that it's very, very high in vegetables and grains. Very little meat, fish and fruit, good. All right, I think we can add our zucchini now. That's the next thickest and most durable vegetable. So we add that in and we stir that around. We're going to add the tomatoes now with this. I think we can do that. This is starting to look very pretty, isn't it? Nice and colorful. And it's always a joy to think up things from the garden when you have all that produce that you've put in all by yourself. Well, I get a little help from my husband. That's true. I got to give him credit. So now we put in the tomatoes. Looks pretty, huh? And we're going to add some basil to this. Now I try to add the herbs at the end, the fresh herbs at the end. There's only one dried herb I like to use with this, and that is oregano, which is right here. So we're going to give that a little bit of oregano. For some reason, it just tastes better dried than fresh, and it's the only one that I use dried. So we mix this all around, and the smell of this is fantastic. This is all going to cook down beautifully. So once that's in, well, the last thing we need to put in is corn. So we have corn here. This can be fresh off the cob corn, or if you want to use just frozen corn, you can do that too. But this is a pretty hearty casserole. You got a lot of stuff going on here. Mix that in. And then the very last thing we want to add is some fresh basil. Here we are using fresh basil. Fresh basil has a wonderful flavor, a little bit spicy. It's an herb that you should never use dried, because then its oils have all dissipated. So we're just going to chop this up coarsely, and you put this in as you're going towards the end of the cooking process, so it flavors everything. In that goes. We give it one more stir, and when this is somewhat wilted down, that's when I'm going to add the cheese.